Hey everyone, it's Kelly Higdon with Zynnyme, and welcome to Starting a Counseling Practice Success Stories. Today I'm joined by one of our Zynnyme coaches and group practice owner, Becca Williams, and we're going to be talking about brain spotting being a key to success in private practice. Welcome, Becca.
Hi, Kelly. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
You have been with Zynnyme for some time now. You do a lot of group practice owner coaching, but you also work with solo practices. Tell us a little bit though about your own private practice.
Yeah, so I started my private practice with Zynnyme probably 7 years ago. And I started as a solo practice and then built into a group practice and have done a few off the couch offerings. And now, in addition to running my group practice, I also do business coaching and brain spotting with Zynnyme.
How did you fall into brain spotting?
Well, it was something that I had heard other therapists talking about for a while. And I kind of thought like, I don't know. I didn't know enough about it. It just was sort of in my periphery. And then I was at an event and the events of the day were over and we were just, kind of chatting with people. And I remember, walking with someone who does brain spotting. And I said, hey, so, all right, I'm finally ready. Like, tell me what this thing is all about. And she said, well, instead of telling you, how about I just show you? Because you really have to experience it. And I was like, okay. And so, we went up to her room and she gave me a brief introduction and then did a brain spotting session with me. And I walked away from that a little bit like, I don't totally know what happened, but the shift was significant and that was really cool. And like, how can I learn some more about it? And I actually participated for a while just in my own healing as a client. And then when the pandemic happened, I thought, oh, there's a lot of us who are like being traumatized and going through some rough stuff all together. And at that point, I decided it was time for me to get my own training.
Yeah. So how would you describe, since no one can go up to your hotel room right now
right.
to experience it, how would you describe brain spotting to someone who's never done it?
It's a brain-body based modality, a way of helping people look at the things that normally are too hard to look at, either because they shut us down or they send us into panic, or maybe sometimes we just don't have a logical connection to like, I don't know why this thing gets me stuck. And brain spotting can help access where those things are stored in the brain and unlock some healthy processing so that we can get unstuck and see the shifts. And the thing that's so cool about it is that sometimes we have really awesome insights that happen. And sometimes you don't have, like, I don't know why this thing is coming up right now, or I don't know what's happening. I feel it in my body. And afterward, you're like, I don't know. I can't explain what happened. I just feel lighter. It's just shifted. Because we don't have to have your neocortex online where you're making sense of all of the things to be able to have it work. So I think that's real cool too.
Yeah, I would say I first did brain spotting for my own kind of personal therapy work. And then I did brain spotting for coaching, like for stuff that I was feeling stuck with in the business. And I think that that's what's interesting here. Like all of our coaches at Zynnyme are trained in brain spotting. We have different levels. Some are at 1, some are at 3, level 3 and beyond. But it's not just for therapy. It can be used in a coaching setting. So can you talk a little bit about how you see brain spotting being used for people building their private practices, growing their private practices, just owning a business? And what are some of the themes that come up that brain spotting can help with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that brain spotting can be really helpful when we have those things that like, maybe it makes logical sense, but we just can't quite seem to implement the thing. So maybe I sit down and I, read some things about financials in the practice or go to a class on marketing or whatever, and there seems to be some kind of block where I just can't implement the things that I've learned, or it makes sense when someone else explains it. And then when I go try to work with my own numbers, I shut down, or I keep avoiding the thing, or, whatever. And there's some kind of mental or emotional block there that's keeping us from being able to implement or being able to like access or use the stuff that we know. And Brainspotting can be helpful to kind of unlock or break up those blocks so that we can just go do the thing. Because it's not really the money block stuff. Like, it's not about the money. The money's just numbers. Like, it's just math. But we have some blocks in the way that could be fear of judgment of other people, or the, stories that we attach to like what this means if I earn this much, or, whatever other things. And there's another way of using Brainspotting that's about like unlocking creativity or performance enhancement. And I think that that's really helpful for a coaching environment as well. If it's not like, I don't have a trauma associated to this particular thing, I just want to get better at whatever the skill is. And we can do some different setups and stuff to help unlock the creativity and potential and motivation. And I think that's really exciting people too. Yeah.
Do you have any personal shares from your own unlocking or overcoming in your business using Brainspotting?
Yeah, I have from my past history, from like my family history, lots of money trauma and difficulty with, financial ruin and gambling and all sorts of things that make money a complicated thing for me. And I remember being in a Brainspotting session where we were doing that expansion stuff, where I just had all of this stuff unlock, and it became so clear to me that all of that money stuff isn't actually mine. That's like my family stuff that I'm carrying. And I could see in a different way how my personal history with money doesn't actually include any of that stuff. Like, I've always been really good at making financial decisions and managing my cash flow and whatever. And that was something that was kind of transformative for me in how I manage the money in the business, and even just my confidence with moving ahead. Making decisions. Should I spend the money on this or on that? Or does it make sense for us to raise fees right now or give people raises or whatever? It then just like cleared up, because it wasn't about any of that old stuff.
Right. The trauma unstuck from it.
Yes. And like me dealing with my own trauma is like, that's for therapy, right? That's a separate thing. But like being able to differentiate this business stuff isn't about my past trauma. That's where the Brainspotting, I think, in a coaching session or coaching environment is really helpful.
Yeah. And what kinds of things have you seen? I mean, I know we're not going to go into exact specific case studies, but what kinds of transformations are you seeing with, people that you're coaching that you're using Brainspotting for?
Yeah. A lot of what I've seen lately has had to do with maybe marketing stuff and being seen. And the people have been able to do similar things like I talked about, where you're separating me, putting my website live is actually completely separate from these fears about being seen that I have from a past trauma, or like finding that confidence in oneself about what they have to offer their clients and the work that they do. And I've also seen some really cool things happen with people who are calming or getting rid of critical voices that are keeping them stuck in their business. And with making difficult decisions too, like, should I take my practice in this direction or that direction? There's this thing that I want to do. Does it make sense for me to do it now or not now? And it's not that Brainspotting necessarily like told them the answer, but it helped this person find that calm place inside of them where they kind of were connected to what they know is best for themselves. And then it was like, oh, from this place, it's really clear that this thing needs to happen next, that thing can wait. And then we could like move ahead with the rest of the coaching session on like, here's your to-dos.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why we brought brain spotting onto the team, that you can do a lot of mindset work. But sometimes when there's connections to trauma, oppression, all like it's more than just, I kind of tire of, well, you work on your mindset. I do think there is something about helping the brain detach from some of the swampiness of trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that we could do mindset work as coaches. But it felt like brain spotting helped kind of accelerate and help people regulate their nervous systems more quickly in a way that allowed them to start taking action and seeing a difference instead of staying in that stuck place and just trying to reframe and trying to analyze, all the time what's going on.
Yeah. And I feel like the reframing and the analyzing and the mindset stuff is all just so cognitive.
Yeah.
And when the blocks are connected to trauma, it's like that one part of your brain is fighting your nervous system that says, no, this isn't safe. And the brain spotting can give an experience. So it's not just conceptual, but like you have a felt experience in the moment of like, oh, these things are different. And oh yeah, it feels so much more possible that I could do the thing that I wanted to do. Yeah.
Right. Instilling hope. Right. And you and I've talked a lot about how people make decisions from a head place, like up in their mind, willing themselves through the plan, but really we want therapists to build successful practices from that kind of conscious creation place of tapping into their heart, having their body really lead them, not their mind, because mind is protecting you. And you have all these other parts of yourself, your spirit, your heart, your body that have wisdom and intelligence that need to be brought in. And I think brain spotting brings those to the forefront, lets the mind calm down for a second. Like, you've worked hard enough. Let's
right.
Yeah.
And I think especially when the mind is confused, like, well, it could be this or could be this other thing. It's like, well, which one do you pick? And neither one of them really, I don't know, they both have pros and cons, or neither one like makes sense. When we bring the body into that, then we can look at which one of these feels right. Or when you think about, where do you find the place that feels like calm and possible and excited? And then it's like, oh, that's the thing that gives clarity to the brain on what we should do next. You're experiencing it differently through the body than just like that place of spinning and spinning, being confused in your mind.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about it too is it's so personal within each individual, because I could look at the facts of you could do this or this other thing and like tell you maybe what I think that you should do, or help you see the pros and cons of either way. But given everything in a person's like context and history and what's going to be right for them and whatever, like only they know what is actually going to be the best thing. And I love that part about using brain spotting in business coaching. Then I am the facilitator of the other person's process, but I'm not like the expert who's going to say, this is what you have to do. Like, you tell me what's right.
Right.
Yeah.
I see business coaching so differently now. And a lot of people will be like, just tell me what to do. And I can give you the tools, I can give you best practices, I can give you your options. But ultimately, if it doesn't align and sync with you, you're either not going to do it, or you're going to maybe sabotage, avoid, or you're going to do it in such a way that is not honoring and aligned with your nervous system and who you are. And so that is why it is important that business coaching be more holistic, of like the coach bringing, yes, there's some expertise. I've like helped thousands of practices. I should know some things, see some patterns, but you might be the clinician that defies that pattern as well. Like, it doesn't mean things are set in stone, because you're a unique human. And in order for you to be successful with business coaching, you have to be able to implement and be able to make some choices and really make sure that what you're doing is aligned.
Right. It's something that I love about the way that we work here, that we're not just giving you a sort of cookie cutter program that's like, we'll do these steps and, whatever, your mileage may vary.
Right.
But really like helping and empowering people to build the businesses that they want and to do the things that are right for them. And like, we're a resource more than just like,
do this XY formula.
I know, exactly.
But so many people just want a formula. I would love a formula. And that's the hard part of I gotta be honest, there is not a one size fits all kind of thing, but there are steps, and then there's you, and you add the creativity and you add the spice and the color, and you make it kind of your own. And I think when people want the formula, that is actually an opportunity for Brainspotting to help them, right? When there's that kind of rigid, I just want to be told what to do, like that usually comes from other things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my pattern, by the way, if anyone's listening. Sometimes I'm just like, I just want someone to tell me what to do, so I don't have to. I think I say I don't want to think anymore, but it means I'm not being in my feelings and I'm not tuning into my body. So that's usually what the cue is like, oh, I'm just only in my head right now.
Yeah.
And so the Brainspotting has really helped with like embodiment and those kinds of things. Do you think, and like in coaching, sometimes you do one-off sessions and sometimes you do packages.
Yeah.
Like, when does a person need just a session versus when could like more consistent stuff help them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that people often come in expecting that they'll be able to do more in one coaching session than is really realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also say that I've seen really positive shifts with people in one session when they come in with something that's very clearly defined. So like maybe the example that I gave before with, hey, there's all this stuff that makes sense for me. Like I can understand the financial stuff when I go through and I read the lesson, or I've read the book, or, whatever the thing is. And somehow there's this one block that I just can't seem to implement.
Right.
And if it's something that's very discrete like that, I think one session might be helpful. Or, I've done all of the things with the website and I just need help to figure out what's blocking me from pushing live.
Yes.
Or publish or whatever.
Yes.
But if you have something that is a little more vague, it's a little less defined, then multiple sessions could be really helpful. Or if there's some kind of combination of, I have an emotional block around this, and I also need help with the implementation part, then a package of sessions could be helpful, because we could do one to work on the block and then a couple of follow-up sessions to go, okay, now let's implement the thing and let me help you with what's working or not working. And if that block comes up again, then we have a little bit of, follow-up to get some additional support.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who are listening, I hope that you're inspired to look at new ways to overcoming your stuck places, to getting more creative in your business, and for redefining success for you, because you get to create a business that you really love and a life that you love, and everybody is going to do that differently. And it's not always just straight up coaching that's going to help, or Googling everything. Sometimes we need to make sure we're integrating all parts of ourselves in the decision-making process and in the creation process. And Brainspotting is a beautiful tool for that. I hope that you're inspired by what you've heard from Becca today. I know I am. I'm just so excited that we're offering this more for our clients, and that it aligns with our values, right? A more holistic approach to supporting people. So if you want to learn more, you can go to zinnyme.com and check out our services there, and check out Brainspotting, whether that be for your business, even for some of your personal stuff. Find a Brainspotting therapist. If you've been stuck in some traditional therapy and you're not making movement, maybe Brainspotting can help too. Yeah. Thanks, Becca, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kelly.
All right, we'll see y'all next time.